Hello, it's Delia. Thanks for clicking on. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about fear because there's a lot of it in the world right now. And fear has a lot to offer. Um, Fear is your system telling you that a boundary has been breached or needs to be set, which is really great navigational information. Um, no, computer's talking to me. Okay, so when when you grow up without clear boundaries or you have bad examples of boundaries, um, absentee fathers, overgiving mothers, absentee mothers, overgiving fathers, um, and all kinds of permutations in between. There's just a lot of there's not a lot of clear, healthy examples about much of anything right now on the planet. Uh, there's We're in a huge transition and on a scale that we're not used to thinking about. Um, for those of us who were around for the 60s or have read up on the 60s, we thought that was a large scale upheaval and transformation. And it was. And what we're in right now and how we're growing into it is going to be even bigger. So, when it comes to fear, how you um, think about it is probably due for an update, an upgrade. So the idea that fear, I mean, what are some of the common ideas about fear? It's out of control, it's dangerous, it's well, that's anger. But fear and anger go really close together. A lot of people, because we have such a peculiar understanding about emotions, a lot of people respond to fear by being angry. I know a lot of from previous generations that especially if there was any military service involved, having your emotions could be dangerous out on the battlefield. And so to navigate them, to quelch them, to get them out of the way, anger was a perfectly respectable tool. And to this day, anger is like a preferred emotion, especially for the male population. It's something that is societally approved for men, not so women, but for men. Um, but underneath the anger, oftentimes you'll find fear, and fear can help you realize that what you've been doing isn't working for you, and it can be accompanied by um, guilt or shame. Guilt is telling you that something you have done or are doing is not right for you to be doing. So guilt is actions, and shame is like emotions. It's like um, shrouding, right? And neither guilt or shame feel good. So they're navigational tools telling you that whatever that thing is, it's not good for you. And so they all shame, guilt, and fear are all telling you these, we need to reconsider things, which is really good information to have if you're open to it. See, judgment makes it really hard to hear things. You can't tell yourself the truth if you're navigating by judgment because you can't afford to judge yourself, or you don't want to judge yourself. So it makes it very hard for you to tell yourself the truth if you're going to judge it. Whereas if you really want to be a safe place for you to be, if you want to grow naturally into uh, your best self, you want the information that fear, shame, and anger are giving you. And I keep doing that. Fear, shame, and guilt are doing for you. And anger has a part in all of this. So fear can be telling you, I don't want to do this anymore. It can be telling you, I don't want to turn into that. It can be telling you, I'm afraid of where we're going, right? Um, Pictures of poverty or lack, or lack of something that's of value to you can stir up a lot of fear. And once they do, then you can be motivated. Okay, I get the message of the fear, and I want to choose something different. I want to go some different direction. And then you change your behavior. And changing your behavior starts to change your thinking. Changing your thinking starts to change your behavior. Everybody wants to know which one to do first. It's a funny thing. If you just keep the vision on where you want to grow next, where you do want to go, not holding the vision of where you don't want to go, but holding the vision of where you do want to go, you will start going in the right direction. You take any action, you change any single thoughts, and before you know it, you're going to be getting some momentum going. Because life itself wants you to flourish. And your infinite self, which is your higher self, the biggest part of you that you might be unconscious of, wants you to flourish. And so if you make any attempts to change, um, and then it doesn't matter how many times you fall off the wagon, it only matters how many times you get back on the wagon. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, it only matters how many times you get up. And then that's how you start to build momentum towards for whatever you want to, become. There's an attractiveness that comes in it, like a magnetism. You end up being drawn towards the thing, and the thing is drawing you towards it. So um, the more you get back up, the more you start over again and again and again, the more you'll get familiar. You get a nice muscle tone with how to make changes in your life. The trickiest part in our culture is that these stories that say change is hard, as in impossible, change is difficult, as in impossible, as change, people don't change, which is not true. So there's lots of cultural momentum against change, and you and your choice have more power than all that cultural momentum does. So if you're in enough, if I'm going to say this, sometimes it can feel like if you're in enough pain, you'll start doing things different. And sometimes that's exactly what it takes is, hitting the bottom, hitting the wall with, I just can't take this anymore. And then the pain is the great motivator to start making new choices. And then you continue to make new choices because you don't want to feel that pain again. Right? But you are going towards something more and more. So that's like one of the healthiest forms of fear, um, shame, blame, anger, anxiety, pain, right? Because they're none of these things are isolated. They're always in concert with each other. They help each other out. And sometimes you need to have the fear and the pain and of the over the awareness, right? There's this great book, Kahil Gibran's The Prophet. And in The Prophet, there's a section on pain, and it says that pain is the breaking of the shell of your understanding. So your understanding can be that this is fine, and then you wake up one day and you realize you're in so much pain because of this thing that really isn't fine. And so you have to break out of it and find new ways of growing forward, going forward. So this is like the best, most helpful, nurturing forms of fear and pain. Now, we're in a society right now with in a position that we've never been in before, where the levels of shock and awe, the levels of manipulation on a large scale using all the media is stimulating people's fear for the fun of it. So when you're afraid of whether or not you're going to have a roof over your head, whether or not you're going to be able to pay your mortgage, to feed your kids, to make your car payments, um, when you're being stimulated in that way constantly, with the rug being pulled out from under you constantly, um, illegal proclamation, illegal actions, illegal everything coming uh, uh, from the federal government that is designed. It's in all the Constitution, all the documents, by the people for the people, means government is a service to the people, and it's being dismantled and destroyed right now, which has a lot of people in a lot of fear, especially if your livelihood is directly or indirectly related to the Fed and the Fed, any kind of government. But also now they're using the very economy to terrorize American citizens. So with the tariffs and that's just right now. In the future, it'll be something else. The point is to destabilize the United States as much as possible. And the United States are us. We are the United States. We, the people. So right now, they're not using bullets and guns. They're using misinformation and tariffs and threats to our way of life and to our democracy and to each other. They're threatening uh, people. They're threatening people on a massive, massive scale, whether it's job related, economy related, health related, healthcare related, um, as well as the um, the people who came here looking for a new life, looking who uprooted themselves because where they were was so terrifying. So every every part of our domestic life is being jacked with, which creates a tremendous amount of fear. And then if you uh, grew up thinking that being aware of current events is sane, civilized, appropriate participation kind of thing to do, then you have another. level of threat because all of media has been taken. It's been happening for a long time, but the sole purpose of media is to jack your fear and get you to watch more, to binge more, to um, be more and more absorbed in the news. So it's phrased in the most disruptive and shocking and awful ways to um, to get you to react. Because the more reactive we are, the easier we are to control. And I say control with a K because it represents this manipulation control um, to feed the domination machine, right? Domination and oppression. Um, when you're being controlled with a K, manipulated, you're off center, you're not trusting yourself, you don't feel like you have enough information or that you have the right information or that you have the authority or the know-how to make any kind of conclusions for yourself. The level of self-doubt that has been cultivated in this country, since television, with the constant 24/7 undermining of your confidence in yourself, and not just your body personality self, but your connection with your higher self. That is the end game. That is the goal of all advertising. It's not to inform, it's to manipulate you into buying. And the best way to manipulate you into buying is to make you insecure about who you are and how you look and what your life is like. So the levels of assault are pretty bombastic and 24/7 in every direction. This kind of fear is toxic because it makes you unable to find anything that you can trust about you. And the only trustworthy things are outside of you and or not human. Um, by calling them smartphones, the the underlying message is that people are stupid. And so if smartphones are smarter than people, then pretty much everything, mechanical or technological, is smarter than people. And all of the dystopian stuff is built on people are not enough. A person is not enough. A person doesn't have what it takes, which these are all lies. They're all lies to feed an economy, to feed the economic engine. And so if you can't trust you, if you can't trust your senses, if you can't trust your ability to think, if you can't trust your sense of right and wrong or good or bad, if you can't trust your sense of whether this is a good thing to do or not, whether screwing over people is a good idea or a bad idea, whether lying is a good idea or a bad idea. If you can't trust in you and you don't have any systems of checks and balances to to triangulate your way when you're in doubt, right? Then you're very easy to manipulate and to control and be led, which no one thinks that they're being controlled or led, but pretty much everybody um, in the United States is, and a lot of people all over the world are being controlled and led. So this is toxic. If you can't trust yourself, that's a toxic reality. Um, most of this reality is based on the idea of original sin. So you being a human, you were born in sin, You're going to live in sin until you get Jesus, or, spend X number of dollars on this, whatever this admission ticket is, whether it's a religion or something else. Um, but you're always having to, and then it's reflected in the rest of society too, because everything is measured in what's wrong, right? It's all problem solving. And to be good at problem solving, you have to uh, look at what's wrong all the time. And so, uh, like right now, there's a lot of good things that are going on. There's a lot of good trouble that's going on. There's a lot of good approaches that many people um, in Washington D.C. are taking to to reconstitute our democracy and to get the insurrectionists out of office. Um, but if you're so well trained, as most of us are, in problem solving, you really don't see the good things that are happening because they're not of value. In problem solving, the problem is the value. Solving it is a secondary value, but the problem, you being able to see the problem, it shows how smart you are. It shows how you're paying attention. It shows how you know. There's like no end of all the different ways to say you're smart are meaningful to us because everything we've ever learned is about how we're not smart. We have deep seated fears about not being smart. And if that's not you, that's great. But for millions of people, it is. So you can be just head spinningly numb with everything that's going on right now. And the toxic fear makes sure that you never trust you, which is an incredibly uncomfortable, terrifying place to live. If you are not a safe place for you to be, that's terrifying. And if you don't know how to become a safe place to be, that's terrifying. Now, luckily, there are some simple things that you can do to start to build your credibility with yourself, which is the only credibility that really matters. Um, the simplest way to do this is what Teddy Roosevelt calls do all you can with what you have from where you are. Do all you can with what you have from where you are. And if you do that today, and you do that tomorrow, and you do that the day after that, you do that for 28 days, you're going to start having a rolling habit of doing all that you can with what you have from where you are. Now, how that builds credibility is that you are becoming aware of what you're doing. And then you're making choices about how you spend your time and how you spend your mental energies. And do all you can with what you have from where you are is about how you participate not only in your own life, but in the community around you, which could be the community of the household, of the family, of the neighborhood, and essentially the community is the United States. So there's an alignment between how you're operating within yourself and how you're treating the parts of you and how you're operating and interacting with the parts around you, the people around you. So do all you can with what you have from where you are means live your values. And to do that, you have to know what they are. You have to take some time maybe to find out. Usually your values are things like being good to people, right? Um, being kind, doing what you say you're going to do, have an alignment between what your words are and what your actions are. These are things that build improved relationships with other people And they are also the same things that it takes to have an improved relationship with your own self. Um, and another really simple way to start this is you check in with yourself multiple times a day and you say, am I doing my best right now? And then you evaluate, are you doing your best in this moment? And if the answer is no, then change what you're doing and start doing your best. If the answer is yes, and you don't need to judge yourself, you just notice and then take action. And if you are doing your best in that given moment, then you say, okay, well done, I'm doing my best. And you keep on doing it. Now, a little side note about this, your best is not 100% 24/7. You are not a machine, and nor should you be. So, your best can be um, 8 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. So, it can fluctuate in the course of a day. But if it's your best in that moment, then it's your best. A lot of people get sleepy around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So, your best might be low. But you're there, you're at your desk, you're applying yourself to the best of your ability, so you are doing your best. And if you're a morning person, your best may be 8 or 9. Uh, at the beginning of the day, for the first few hours, the first 5 6 hours, it'll change. And that's the thing to remember: as a live thing, you're you're fluctuating all the time, and that's life. That's a good thing. Remember, in the hospital, if you're at a flat line, you're not alive anymore. So you want that sinus rhythm or whatever it's called. You want to be in motion all day long, and your best, your ability to concentrate, your ability to focus will change throughout the day and throughout the week and throughout. We all have cycles. We have lots of cycles. So you have to start understanding that your best is your best, whether it's a 2% or an 8%. And you have to decide that your best is enough. So if you're checking in with yourself multiple times a day and you're asking, am I doing my best? And either changing it to you doing your best or saying yes and continuing on. What happens is the more days you do that, the more you'll be doing it for weeks. So a common pitfall is on Tuesday, you're doing your best with the information you have at the time. And then on Friday, you get new information. And in the problem solving world, what we're trying to do is to look back at the choices that we made on Tuesday and rip ourselves a new one because we didn't, we did it all wrong based on the information we have on Friday. Can you see how unfair that is? Right. So if you're going through your day checking to see if you're doing your best, when you get to Friday and you have this new information, you can't waste your time going back to making yourself wrong on Tuesday because you know you were doing your best on Tuesday because you've been checking in. And so when you get new information on Friday, you do not waste your time and you do not indulge in making yourself wrong for what you did on Tuesday. I mean, it frees up so much energy so that on Friday you get new information and you adjust and you incorporate that new information and you start acting on it that very day. Right? So then you go on and on and on. And as the time passes, because you keep checking in, am I doing my best? You will over time migrate from um, problem solving and looking at what you're doing wrong to um, being able to know when you're messing up and when you're not, because you're checking up on yourself. Not checking up on yourself, that's the wrong energy. You're just checking in with yourself and checking to see, am I doing my best? And the more you're doing your best, no matter 2%, 10%, whatever it is, then over time, you actually do, your nervous system will start to change. You'll come out of fight, flight, freeze more because you know for a fact that you are doing your best. This is a great antidote to fear, because you're checking in, you're doing the science, you're checking in, and you're either adjusting or continuing. And so that right there builds tremendous credibility with yourself because it's live, it's in real time, and it's over time. It's a great antidote to fear. It will you will fall for fear less and less often because you have the power to change what's going on. And you know that because you keep doing it. You keep checking in, and if you're not doing your best, you adjust and you do start to do your best. So that builds credibility right there too. So there's a lot more to unpack about fear and the whole spectrum of it all. But I hope this gives you some good ideas, and I hope you try the "Am I doing my best?" habit, building that habit. It will change all kinds of things for the better for you. And if you do give it give it a shot, leave a comment. I'd love to hear how it's going for you. Thanks for checking in. I'll see you next time.